Long before the headlines, before the sirens, before the world learned the name Sandtown-Winchester, the story begins quietly. It begins with footsteps. Freedmen and women walking north through Baltimore's streets right after the Civil War. They carried little more than hope, searching for work, for dignity, for a place to call their own. They didn't know it then, but they were laying the very foundation of a neighborhood that would one day symbolize both the promise and the pain of urban America. Back in the late 1800s, West Baltimore was on the edge of a booming industrial city. Railroad tracks cut through the landscape, factories hummed with activity, and the docks pulled in labor from every direction. For Black Americans newly freed from slavery, Baltimore offered a chance, but it was a chance confined within tight, invisible boundaries. Sandtown-Winchester emerged in this space, a neighborhood built from necessity and sheer resilience. Modest brick row houses started to fill block after block, built close enough for neighbors to truly know one another, close enough for a real community to take root. As the 20th century dawned, Sandtown-Winchester grew fast. The Great Migration brought waves of Black families from the South, all fleeing Jim Crow laws, racial violence, and economic despair. They arrived with skills, with ambition, and with an unbreakable determination to build a better life. Churches became the anchors of daily life. Schools, social clubs, and corner stores transformed the streets into vibrant ecosystems. This was a working-class neighborhood through and through. Factory workers, laborers, domestic workers, the very people who built the city of Baltimore, while being denied full access to its rewards. But even then, the lines were being drawn. Baltimore became one of the first American cities to legally enforce residential segregation, and even after those laws were eventually struck down, the damage was done. Banks started redlining neighborhoods like Sandtown-Winchester, marking them as risky investments simply because Black families lived there. This meant loans vanished, investment dried up. It became harder and harder for residents to own and maintain their homes. What looked like decline from the outside was, in reality, a deliberate abandonment from the inside. Still, the neighborhood endured. By the middle of the 20th century, Sandtown-Winchester was dense, vibrant, and deeply connected. Families looked out for one another. Kids played in the streets. Local businesses survived on loyalty more than on profit. But beneath the surface, powerful forces were shifting. Factories, the economic lifeblood of the community, began to close. Manufacturing jobs disappeared. What had provided steady income for generations was suddenly gone. The losses came quietly at first, then all at once. Unemployment skyrocketed, city services shrank. Houses deteriorated faster than residents could afford to repair them. Drugs began to fill the economic vacuum left behind. And with that came over-policing, mass incarceration, and a deep, painful mistrust between the community and the institutions that were supposed to serve it. Sandtown-Winchester wasn't alone in this same devastating pattern unfolded in Black neighborhoods all across America, but for the people living it, it felt deeply personal. Yet even in the face of such hardship, Sandtown-Winchester refused to disappear. During the civil rights era of the 1960s and 70s, the neighborhood became a hub of organizing and advocacy. Churches hosted meetings, community leaders rose up, demanding fair housing, better schools, and equal treatment under the law. It was an uphill battle, but it was a constant one. Sandtown-Winchester wasn't silent. It was just unheard. Then, in the 1990s, the nation's attention briefly turned toward West Baltimore. The N.E. Casey Foundation launched a massive redevelopment project, one of the most ambitious in the country. The idea was bold. Don't just fix the buildings, fix the systems. Housing, education, employment, health, public safety all would be addressed together, with residents themselves guiding the way. For a while, hope surged. Homes were renovated. Vacant lots were cleared. Social programs expanded. Sandtown-Winchester became a national case study, a symbol of what real, intentional investment could achieve. But true transformation proved much harder than renovation. Deep-seated, Structural inequality doesn't just disappear on a project timeline. When the funding eventually faded and political priorities shifted, progress slowed. Some of the gains remained, but others slipped away. And then came 2015, the death of Freddie Gray, a 25-year-old black man who suffered fatal injuries while in police custody, thrust Sandtown-Winchester into the global spotlight. Protests erupted, fires burned, news cameras flooded the streets. To the outside world, the neighborhood was framed as a place of chaos and anger. But to the residents, it was something else entirely. It was grief. It was exhaustion. It was generations of frustration finally boiling over. Freddie Gray wasn't just an isolated incident, he was a breaking point. For so many in Sandtown-Winchester, the unrest wasn't about destruction. It was about visibility. It was about finally being seen after decades of disinvestment and disregard. When the cameras left, the neighborhood remained. Today, Sandtown-Winchester exists in a complicated space, caught between struggle and strength. Yes, vacant houses still line some streets, poverty and health disparities persist. But so does the community. Grassroots organizations now run urban farms where abandoned lots once stood. Schools, churches, and nonprofits work day in and day out to support children and families. Residents aren't asking for a rescue. They're advocating for a partnership. Sandtown-Winchester is often talked about as a problem that needs to be solved, but its history tells a much different story. This is a community shaped by policy, not by failure. It was shaped by decisions made far from its streets, and by promises that were made and broken over generations, and yet it endures. Because history isn't just about what happens to a place, it's about how the people respond. Sandtown-Winchester is a powerful reminder that our neighborhoods are not just statistics on a chart. They are living archives of labor, love, resistance, and survival. To understand its past is to understand the larger American story, how opportunity is distributed, how inequality is built, and how resilience refuses to be erased. Long after the headlines fade, Sandtown-Winchester continues its quiet work, brick by brick, step by step, still standing. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into the histories that shape our world.